Welcome everyone to interview number 6 today with WhiteCat. Welcome, welcome. Woo.
Hello.
So, just in case anyone is somehow not familiar with you, could you just give a brief introduction to who you are and what people might know you for in the community?
Yeah, so my name is WhiteCat. My name is Samuel. I've been playing also for quite some time, and I guess I'm most famous for my jump aim. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were also the longest consecutive rank 1 player throughout, I think, 2020, right? And
Yeah.
2019-ish. Yeah. So, I actually want to start with something a little less gameplay related, but I think aside from jump aim, something that a lot of people recognize you for is mindset. I think that's something that you talk about a lot as well. And can you touch on like what in your mind, like what would you say is a good versus bad mindset?
Mm, I guess with a good mindset, you acknowledge that you can have bad days, but you don't let it like disrupt you. You just keep going. For example, when I have a bad day, I just try to focus on something else, like reading maybe, which could still help me improve in the game than like pushing my limits all the time. So like accepting bad days and not being too hard on yourself. That's what I would say.
A couple people have has sent in questions about the Frosty Boy clip, the Team Magma clip, where I think that was probably your most like popular, I
Yeah.
guess, moment when it comes to kind of utilizing mindset. Is there anything, and I'm also especially curious about mindsets that you've learned about, like even just the community backlash, especially when you were banned and all the cheating accusations. Is there anything you sort of learned through that process that sort of helped you um, either continuing your journey through OSU or even just in like everyday life, sort of lessons that you've learned from that process?
Yeah, I would just say that you have to do your own thing. Like that's what I noticed when I was banned. Like everybody was shitting on me and it was kind of tough, but I just kept playing because the game was fun to me, and in the end, that worked out for me. So just keep on doing your own thing, and if people are giving you shit for it, that's what I would say.
Okay, let's go. So, a lot of people also asked about like pushing yourself to really high star ratings, especially with aim. Would you say there's anything special or different that you need to do? Because the general principle I think most people know is that you should always be pushing yourself and obviously having fun with the game. But is there anything special or different that you feel like is necessary to push past certain like very high star ratings?
Um, Let me think. Yeah, I do think pushing yourself is important. I would just do it like gradually and not push too hard. What I noticed for myself is that playing hard rock really did improve because of the it wasn't comfortable for me at some point, like the high AR and then the small circles, and I think that's what made me improve. Like as dumb as it sounds, and going out of your comfort zone while playing, and therefore pushing yourself.
What would you say is the relationship between aiming and reading?
Um, Damn, okay, that's a tough one. I think aiming and reading really do closely intertwine because, I mean, if you wrongly read a pattern, you can't aim it. So, like, for you to aim a pattern correctly, you have to have read it correctly beforehand. So, I think reading is really important, and I can only recommend play low AR.
Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned. I've heard every now and then in the community that like all the top aim players in the world can also play easy relatively well. Do you think that's something that's actually important necessarily, or do you think it's just coincidence?
Um, I guess it depends on what you play. If you only play double time, you probably won't need good low AR reading to have good aim on double time. But if you generally want to be a good aim player, I think having that improved reading can really help in especially aiming weirder patterns or like not easy to read patterns.
So something somewhat similar, I think, is pen grip. There's a couple people who talked about how they struggle, especially with like their grip slipping and things like that. Are there any lessons you learned about pen grip in general and having your grip not slip in the middle of a map?
So first of all, I'm gonna say I wouldn't copy anybody's grip if I was a new player. I think everybody has to find their own grip, which works for them, because in the end, everybody's different. Regarding my grip slipping, for me personally, it's not the problem that my grip is slipping. Like, I do adjust my grip, and therefore it's slipping a bit. The only problem I have, like I've talked a lot about it in the recent weeks, is that while slipping, I keep sliding into my pen buttons.
Ah.
But so the sliding itself or the slipping isn't a problem for me. But I guess for people with a normal grip, so to say, I heard a lot of people had improvements by using grip tape.
Oh,
but I
yeah.
tried it and it doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, I actually had the same experience. I think yesterday I tried grip tape for the first time, and I was like, "Yeah, this is not for me." But there's definitely people. I think Vaxe for sure kind of swear by grip tape. So, um, yeah. Also related to aim, I know in a previous interview you mentioned area, and you said that as a newer player, you would recommend to not change your area for quite a long time before you develop that muscle memory. Is that still something you agree with? And is there anything you can expand on that?
Yeah, but to go more in detail, I think you should find a good area beforehand, and then you should not change it.
Okay, that
But
makes
if you
sense.
are not comfortable with your area, then I would change it. But I'm a big fan of not changing all the settings all the time, because I think that's what will really make you consistent or help with consistency.
Oh, speaking of consistency, I want to also ask about tournament play. So, one, I guess we'll start with sort of well-roundedness in general. What would you recommend to anyone who wants to be at a really high level, but also very well-rounded in every skill set?
Like only regarding tournament play or in general?
Yeah, tournament play.
I would say learning by doing. I would just play a lot of tournaments, try to get the nerfs down if you have nerfs, and practice the whole map pool all the time so you can improve on all the different skill sets.
Some people mention that when they try working on one skill set, then they end up losing other skill sets. Is that something you've experienced before, or is there any way that you know to avoid that?
Yeah, so what I would do is I wouldn't hyper focus on a single skill set like extensively. I would 1 second.
Intermission.
I would
Oh,
try to
okay.
combine it with a different skill set.
Okay.
So like if you want to practice aim, I would like rather than only playing these aim training packs, I would play something like Alice maps where you have a really difficult map. It's not just aim.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
also space streams, and so I wouldn't hyper focus on a single skill set.
Okay. So, like, using maps that mostly have that skill set, but also have other types of patterns in them?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. So, for a while, and you mentioned this was, I think, especially around 2019 and maybe early 2020, where streaming was definitely your weakest skill at the time. And now I think it's definitely way up there. So, first of all, good job. But do you have any sort of, like, is there anything special you feel like you did, or was it just like a long and tedious grind to slowly get better?
I think it was a grind. I did slightly adjust my the way I tap, but I think in the end it was just playing a lot of streams, and therefore, pushing the skill set.
That's right. I do remember you mentioned that like index middle was like not working for you anymore. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Um, yeah, so I just wanted to try something different, and I noticed that with index middle, I used to finger lock a lot. So I tried ring index, and it really helped me with like finger control, and I could tap lighter, which was a big difference for me. So I continued using that.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
But then aside from that, was it basically just kind of just staying at a BPM that's just a little uncomfortable for you and just always trying to challenge yourself?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
makes sense. Are there any skill sets now that you're kind of focused on improving right now?
Yeah, so in the last few weeks, I've been focusing on tech a bit more
Ah,
because, like, especially with sliders, that's kind of one of my weaker skill sets because I never really played a lot of it. And yeah, so I'm trying to improve at tech and sliders at this moment.
so in general, but also specifically on like really hard aim maps, what exactly are you focused on? Like, where do you, I guess, keep your eyes? I think a lot of people are curious about like, um, some people hear that you should look at each individual circle, and some people hear that you should just kind of look in the middle. Do you think it really matters? And then I'm also curious what you do specifically.
Okay, so I can say I do not look at every single note. No way. I think at some point that's not really possible. Um, and I keep my eyes like somewhere in the middle, where I have a general overview. Um, yeah, but I don't look at every single note. I don't think that's possible. But I can't quite say if it really matters, because that's how I've always played. So I don't know if I were to look at every single note, if that would help me out, if it's possible.
Right, right. I think especially when you get to like even AR11, especially, it seems like it starts to get very unpractical.
Yeah.
So there's a couple opinion related questions that I think we can try to burn through quickly. So one is, what is your opinion on the wooden keyboard?
Okay. So I did have the chance to try it out like a week ago, and I can say in some ways it really does make a difference. Like um, when I was playing streams, I often used to finger lock because like I didn't tap the key down completely, and the booting kind of eliminated that. So if you're a speed player and you want to push yourself, I think the booting could be useful, but it's not something that I would recommend to every OSU player. Like it's a must that you must have a booting keyboard. Um, but for people who like are already good speed players and want to push their speed, I think it can be very useful.
You mentioned that one of your fingers doesn't go down all the way. Do you know which finger that is?
No, no, not like one finger specifically, but
Oh, okay.
like one of both fingers.
Oh, okay, okay. So next question. Oh, actually, so still on the wooden keyboard. The I've also tried it for a day, and I basically came to the conclusion that wooting is like anti-finger lock keyboard, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously it doesn't actually give you speed or stamina, but the actual like mechanic in the keyboard that makes you finger lock doesn't actually exist. Is that a decent way to understand it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree. But what I would add is that it can give you more speed if you like actively focus on tapping lighter,
Ah, yeah, yeah.
because that's what you can really do good with the booting keyboard, in my
That's a good point.
opinion.
Yeah. Next question.
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Next
yeah. So I
question.
think it can give a little bit of speed, but like not big amounts.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That's a good point.
And it's definitely not a cheater keyboard, like some people have been saying.
That's true. So someone said opinion on almost every player being a DT/speed player.
Um, like the top players or players in
Uh,
general?
I I guess they might be talking about top players, but they did not specify.
Yeah, so I do think that the meta is quite leaning towards speed right now, or speed double time. And I would really like to see some changes in the PP system still, especially with like low BPM jumps. But yeah, in the end, I think everybody should play what's fun to them. And I mean, who am I to judge what people like to play?
Right. So next question is opinion on full area players.
Yeah, they have my utmost respect. I think it's really cool. My area before I changed it was also really close to full area, and now a little bit less. But I respect the big movements you have to do with your pen if you play full area.
Yeah, definitely agreed. So next question is, what made you want to become a jump player?
I would say, like, I never really actively planned on being a jump player. Back in the day, jumps were just the thing that were most fun to me, and that I improved it most quickly. So I guess it developed on its own.
Someone asked about your warm up. Like, how often do you warm up before playing, or like, I guess, how long do you warm up? And also, is there anything specific that you do, or does it just based on whatever you're focused on at the time?
Yeah, I do warm up like 15 to 25 minutes maybe. And what I do is I just like to play easy double time to get into it, to get my tapping warmed up. And then at some point I start playing no mode or a bit of hard work. But mostly easy double time to warm up.
Okay, is that more of a preference thing, or just like what you found works best for you? Or do you think there's any special reason why you do that, or is it just kind of your style of warming up?
It's just preference.
Okay. So let's see. So another opinion question. Someone asked opinion on hidden players.
Yeah, I guess it ties into the earlier question. What can I say?
Okay.
If they like playing it, they should go for it. But I personally, I don't really play a lot of hidden anymore because I don't like it as much anymore as I did back in the day. Yeah.
All right. Someone asked, I guess we'll go back to, I guess, general mindset and less about actual gameplay for a little bit. Someone asked, what kept you going when you got banned from OSU? I think you were banned for around 3 years or so. And during that time, you were still grinding, playing the game, things like that, especially when like pretty much the entire community was convinced that you're cheating. So what kept you going during those times?
I was yearning for justice. No, seriously, I just try to keep having fun playing the game. And like I said, sit on what other people think and improve for myself, so to say. So I think that's what kept me going. Like seeing the game as a game, having fun, and not giving a shit. Try to not give a shit.
Let's go. On a somewhat similar topic regarding mindset. So some players mentioned that they feel like their mindset is the thing that's really holding them back, or they just kind of generally struggle with mindset or comparing themselves to other players or feeling like they're not improving as fast as they want to or anything like that. Is there anything you can say to people who feel like they have a like sort of poor mindset?
I would say don't be too hard on yourself. Everybody has bad days, and everybody is improving at their own rate. And I think the most important thing to improving is having fun playing the game. At least that's my experience. When I was having fun, I always played the best, and yeah.
I think the biggest thing I've noticed you point out when it comes to mindset is sort of limiting beliefs, like people who just feel like they don't think something is possible, and so they kind of don't go for it in the first place. Is that something you can expand on a little bit?
Yeah, so my belief is that if you put your mind to it, you can achieve a lot of things. And that also ties into OSU. So yeah, if you have limiting beliefs, I would definitely work on that.
On a similar note, I want to ask a bit about ego, because I think that's something that's somewhat related. There were a couple discussions recently about if you think ego is quote unquote necessary to reach a certain point or to be really, really good at something. And I guess, what are your thoughts on ego in general? Like, how do you understand it as a concept in general?
Um, Never thought about that, but in generally, I do think that ego is a good concept if you don't like, how do I say it? Doesn't go into extremes, like to the point that you become arrogant or something. But I think ego is important in playing and improving. Yeah.
All right. Someone asked to WhiteCat, how's your life at the moment?
Pretty good, I would say. I just finished my internship. Now I have a bit of vacation
Oh, nice.
before I start again. So yeah, it's pretty chill.
Are you in university now?
No, not yet. I'm doing like another internship
Ah,
to
okay.
then study afterwards.
Okay.
Because yeah, I needed to study then.
Okay.
And one thing I would add to ego, or like improving in general, I think what's also really important is to not go into a OSU session with expectations that you have to do something. Like if you just go into it with no expectations, with the main goal to have fun, then in the end it will almost always work out better and end up with you playing better than if you like go into an OSU session saying, I want to do this and that, and if I don't, it was a bad session.
Yeah. Do you find that at the start of your session, you try to kind of figure out how you're feeling and sort of set your expectations as you play? Like if you get on and you notice your aim is a little better than usual, then you kind of focus on aim and vice versa?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it. So a couple things about specific skill sets. So someone asked about AR11. They said, do you blink while playing AR11 maps, or do you just hold out until the map is done or there's a break?
I haven't been playing 11 for a long time, but I definitely do blink a lot less when I'm playing high AR. I blink when it's possible. So if there's like some slower part, then I'll blink.
I assume it's not really something you think about anymore.
No.
Okay. Would you, and also talking about AR11, do you think there's any different strategies you need to use once you get to really high ARs, or is it the same concept that you might use to learn AR10, for example, where you just kind of play it a bunch until you kind of just get used to it?
I just played it a bunch. That's what I did. I also never use gamma, but I think that's a thing you could do. In the end, you're just masking your skill if you do. I have to say that. But yeah, I think it's learning by doing. Same with AR10.
Makes sense. So someone asked, how much does hand position and technique matter?
I think it really matters a lot. I think technique is everything. But I also think that everybody has to find their own optimal technique.
Yeah. The way I think of it is it's kind of like ice cream flavors, where it does matter, but and everyone has their own that works best for them or that they prefer the most, but there's no correct one necessarily. Is that a decent way to think about it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Would agree.
Someone asked, what do you do to control nerves?
Also a tough question. I would say many people would say breathe deep, but I'm a fan of breathing shallow when you're nervous.
Oh, interesting.
And again, I think it's how you put it in your mind. If you see up until a point and you think like, holy shit, am I doing this right now? Then most often you will break. But if you just really focus on playing, then that's what helps with nerves. Like not hyper focus on the potential score you could do, if that makes any sense.
Is there any different strategies you use for tournaments in particular for nerves?
No, I think experience is king here.
Okay.
The more you play, the less nerves you will have.
Someone asked, how do you improve your flow aim while streaming?
Sorry if my voice is cracking. I'm kind of sick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what do I say? I think it's learning by doing. I wouldn't overthink it and just play the game as dumb as it sounds. And play space streams in that matter. And I think you will improve.
Let's see here. I think we can also take questions, those listening live. There's a live chat text thread. You guys are welcome to ask there as well.
One thing I could add, I don't think it's just play more. I think you have to get the most out of your sessions. Like, what I tend to do at this point, I really don't have a lot of play count. But one reason for that is I don't play a lot, but when I play, I like to play through the maps and not retry spam. I think that's a very bad habit. And really doing the Itki method and playing through the map can help you get more consistent, have less nerves, and make you play better overall.
I'm sure you've seen either through your Twitch chat or just kind of in general, like a lot of people coming to ask you questions or ask for advice. Are there any really, really common questions that you see that you sort of want to get them all answered here one time publicly?
Yeah, I guess what I just touched on, a lot of people ask me how to improve. On the one hand, definitely play more, but on the other hand, you have to get the most out of your sessions and not retry spam. Play through the maps, have some variety, not go into a session with expectations. So that's what I would say.
Is there any way for someone to know, like let's say I do want to kind of get the most out of my session, what would you say that's based on? Is it based on like the skill sets that I want to work on and like my current weaknesses, or is there any way that you would like, or I guess how do you figure out what exactly to focus on or what to play to get the most out of your session?
I mean getting the most out of session in terms of efficient practice. So whatever you want to focus on, what you want to improve on, is what you play, and when you play, you just try to get the most out of your session by, like I said, not retry spamming, and most importantly, having fun while playing.
A similar question to sort of common things you see a lot, but are there any really common mistakes that you've seen or heard that newer players have been doing, or just players in general?
I mean, I've said it before, who am I to judge? But what I think many new players get into a bad habit of is playing DT early on. What I think new players should do is like get down the basics first in terms of good no mode proficiency, and then you can build on top of that by playing DT. But I wouldn't like rush it and play DT at the very start. But again, in the end, I mean, everybody has to play what's most fun to them, and yeah, but if you really want to improve fast and have steady and solid improvement, I would play no mods, get the basics down, and then you can expand on that.
Yeah, definitely agreed. I feel like that somewhat relates to kind of skipping ahead on certain skill sets. Do you feel like if you try to skip ahead in improvement, then it can actually hold you back in a way?
Yeah, very much.
All right. Someone asked, how is life in Switzerland?
Expensive. No. Very nice, but very expensive. But like the living quality is very high, and everything is pretty beautiful here, so I'm happy.
Someone asked, do you prefer alternating or single tapping in general more, or does it just depend on the map?
It depends on the map. I think what happened to me in the past is that I got lazy and only started alternating. And I think that if you push yourself by single tapping, it can also help your speed quite a bit.
Oh,
so I
yeah.
try to focus on single tapping a bit more. But it really depends on the map.
Some people, especially I've seen people that are really focused on improving, and they basically have like specific days dedicated to different skill sets, and like throughout a week they might do like one day for reading and one day for low AR or something like that, or that's the same thing, but you get the idea. Is that something you would recommend like for or against, or do you have any thoughts on practicing that way where you kind of focus on one skill per day?
I've never practiced like this, but I think it's kind of overthinking it in some point. In my opinion, what would be better is just playing and then playing what you're good on that day. Like if you have good aim on a day, then focus on aim a bit more and rather go like that than have specific days in a week where you practice a specific skill set.
Someone asked, WhiteCat, will you be taking global rank 1 again?
No. Like, first of all, I'm not sure if it's possible because MRAC is pretty cracked. And PP is not something I'm focusing on right now. I just want to set some nice scores. That's about it.
Do you have any end game goals right now?
I do have a lot of scores I want to get done. One example would be Happy Song. Another one like Chronostasis with Hard Rock would be very nice. So quite a few scores. And to win also World Cup. That would be nice.
Someone asked, do you think playing offline is good for getting a better mindset?
I guess it depends. Like if your mindset is bad because you're comparing yourself with others on the leaderboard, then maybe. But I think that's an issue you have to fix. And the solution is not playing offline.
Interesting. So you basically, like, if that's your problem, then playing offline is kind of like avoiding the problem, in your opinion?
I would say so, but I can't. I'm not sure because I've never really played offline a lot. Even when I was banned, I used to play on private servers. So I guess everybody has to know on their own.
Okay, a couple non-OSU related questions. So first is, do you have a favorite food?
Yeah, I would say sushi. Some good sushi is very nice.
Oh. Do you still play CSGO?
Not at this point. Not really a lot. I'm only playing Rocket League and OSU mainly.
Oh, let's
And
go.
what I have been playing a lot in the recent weeks is Civilization 6.
Oh,
But apart from that, I'm not really playing anything right now.
do you have a favorite Tic Tac flavor?
Let me think. Yeah, I think probably the orange flavor. The fresh orange, I think. That's the flavor.
Oh, let's go. Do you have a
But
favorite? Oh, what's up?
yeah, it's just been a long time that I've been eating Tic Tac. Like quite a few years.
Do you have a favorite?
But yeah, it's orange.
Okay, let's go. Do you have a favorite type of cheese?
Yeah, Gouda cheese. Pretty goated.
Oh, let's go.
But I do like cheese in general.
All right. A couple people asked about like, do you even feel anything when you set certain scores? Especially, I think, oftentimes it seems like you seem pretty like calm sometimes when you set scores, or you just kind of laughing. Do you have any context to that? And like, I guess what? Yeah. Do you have just any thoughts on that in general?
Yeah, I'm definitely not the most reactive OSU player, but I do feel something when I set a nice score. Just, I'm happy, and that's about it.
All right. Let's see here. Someone asked, does OD matter when it comes to reading?
OD and reading. I wouldn't see the connection.
Okay. Some people say that when they start pushing really high star ratings, then they start to lose the ability to play lower stars. Is that something you've experienced or anything you can comment on there?
It's not something I experienced. I could figure it would happen when you like push your star rating a lot. I think you should definitely push yourself, but gradually and not go overboard with it.
Okay, so seems like it somewhat relates to kind of skipping steps like we were talking about.
Yeah.
All right, someone asked about area, or not area, but smoothing filters. Someone said, what smoothing filters does WhiteCat use? So first of all, do you use filters at all? And also, do you think that they really matter that much?
Yeah, I do use smoothing filters. Do they matter? Probably not, no. But they feel pretty nice, so that's why I'm using them. I'm using 12 ms on 1000 Hertz in the Devo Cup driver. But I don't think you need it.
Do you guys or I think people are asking if you have thoughts on Osu Laser. People are just saying ask Laser. I think they mean if you have thoughts on Osu Laser in general.
No, I don't. I haven't really informed myself about Osu Laser. And if it comes, I think it's gonna be pretty nice, but I don't have like a big opinion on it.
Someone asked, in your opinion, what is the most important skill set to practice?
I don't think there's a most important skill set. I think the most important skill set is what's most fun to you, I guess.
Is there any skill set? Oh, you can go.
Yeah, I guess at the basis of like also skill is probably reading. So you could argue that that would be the most important skill set. But yeah, I'm not quite sure if you can put it that way.
Right, right. Some people also ask, like, is there a skill set that you feel like if you learn that one, then it makes learning other skill sets a little easier?
Um, hmm. Yeah, probably reading.
Okay, yeah. So someone asked, what was your biggest hurdle to get over?
Like in general, or
Maybe in general, I'm sure they're talking about Osu, but you can answer
um,
both ways.
let me think. I think regarding also it was like my biggest hurdle to get unbanned. That was like the most difficult task because at the time what I was doing wasn't helping. Could write appeal after appeal and was just getting ignored. So yeah.
Do you, I mean, I'm not sure how much experience you have with Osu support after you got unbanned, but do you feel like, 'cause I think in your last interview, you said that, or like, I think at that time they said that they would try to do a little better job. Do you feel like they've been doing better at all, the Osu support? Or is it, do you think they kind of have the same problems?
I can't really tell because I didn't have anything to do with them
Okay.
after my unban.
All right. Someone asked, how do you feel with yourself now compared to the past?
I don't quite understand the question.
I guess how would you compare? I'll assume they're talking about Usu. Like, how do you feel about your current like skill level and skill set overall compared to how it was before? Like, you could compare it to like 2019, 2020 ish.
Yeah, so I do think I'm a lot better. The only thing which I'm not better at is probably like stream mod, and I think that's because I'm just not playing it. But I think I definitely got a lot better overall.
All right. Someone asked, do you use different technique for 240 plus BPM, or is it the same no matter what you play?
It's the same no matter what I play. I just try to tap lighter, but still work in progress.
Someone said, how does single tapping improve speed?
It's actually something I heard from Shimon that by focusing on single tapping, he improves the speed a lot, and it's something I've noticed as well. So I can't I can't explain the mechanism, but I guess if you have more finger speed on one finger, then it's gonna help your speed. You could also single tap with the other finger, so to have more finger speed on both fingers, and yeah, so I guess it does make sense.
All right, something similar. Someone said, "Hey, WhiteCat, I remember you saying you asked Miremi about his technique in one of your streams. Asked about his technique in one of your streams. What did you ask him? What was his answer? And how exactly do you define a technique?"
How I define the technique? I guess how do I answer this? Yeah, by the way, you put your hand. That's what I define a technique. Yeah, so I did ask Marami what his technique is, and he said that he raises his wrist and his elbow, and if I remember correctly, that he is tucking his thumb in. So yeah.
All right, something somewhat similar. Oh, so someone asked, "Do you have tips to avoid mind block?"
Yeah, it's something I said earlier. Don't retrace spam. Play through the whole map, and I think if you do that, you will mind block much less.
All right. Someone said, how do you know if you're pushing too hard? Do you determine it on combo accuracy or the letter rank, or how do you know if you're pushing too hard?
I would say by accuracy maybe. So I think you should stay above 90%. But it's pretty hard to generalize it because it depends on the map.
Okay.
Like if you push speed, it will probably be less.
Someone asked thoughts on relax slash autopilot, both for warm up and just in general.
I'm not really a fan of either. I think aiming and tapping is like you have to connect it. You can't do it separately. That's what I think.
Someone said, what did you do to get low unstable rate? Is it just something that came naturally, or is there anything like specific you focused on to improve your accuracy?
It came pretty naturally, but a thing you can do is, as dumb as it sounds, to just focus on a song.
Oh, like the sort of music and rhythm aspect?
Yeah.
All right, talking about tournament practice, how exactly do you practice map pools? Like, do you just kind of look at them once and make sure you're playing well, or do you try to practice to perfection? Or like, what's your strategy when it comes to practicing for tournaments?
So I'm siding with Bubbleman. I think over practicing is a bad idea. So what I like to do is I like to play the map pool through once, and then I'm looking at individual maps that I need more practice on to then practice them afterwards. But I play through the map pool only once.
And is there anything specific for like picking strategies, or is it just kind of like pick what you think you're going to win?
I think it's more pick what you think you'll win on.
Okay.
But you have to ask Fiery about that. He knows a
Okay.
lot more than I do.
Ah, okay.
Shout out to Fiery Rage.
Oh, that's true. Fiery Rage is definitely a beast with tournaments, especially strategy. I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
So, some people hear that you should play older maps to improve reading and things like that. Do you think there's any value in playing those maps?
Yeah, if they're fun to you, I think there's some value in it. But to improve skill sets, I don't know. I wouldn't say so.
So, specifically in tournaments, someone asked, how do you reset your mental when you're really tilted or multiple points down?
It's definitely not easy, but I think you just have to mentally reset yourself. But how to do that exactly? I think it's very individual. So,
Do you have any inspirations these days? I know in a previous interview you said players like Atric and Cookiesy were inspirational due to their like just really high skill cap. But is there anyone these days that you think is a really big inspiration?
yeah, probably Vaxa is too, and Cookiesy on some maps.
Are there any players that you're looking forward to up and coming that you think are going to get really good?
Yeah. For example, Kriller from Germany.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. For other players, I mean, there's always up and incoming players. It's hard to keep up.
I
But
agree.
yeah, I would say Kriller.
Okay. Do you have tips for time management? I think especially in tournament practice for one, but sort of if you have many different things going on in your life, being able to balance sort of practicing for OSU and playing tournaments along with all the other stuff. Is there anything you've learned about getting better at time management?
No. I don't think I can say anything regarding this.
Oh, okay.
I'm not the best myself. So, yeah, I don't want to be a hypocrite.
Are there any like really major roadblocks when it comes to improving that you feel like it took you a pretty long time to figure out? And what were those things that you struggled with? And I guess what did you learn to eventually overcome? those things?
I don't think there was anything especially. I think a fundamental that could keep you down, so to say, again your mindset. But I've never really struggled a lot with mindset, so I didn't have a big hurdle to overcome. I just had to play, I guess.
Okay. Someone asked, do you think Btmc will be future rank 1?
No. But I know like Ed is known as a content creator, but I think he really has his moments where he shines in game. And I think he does have a lot of potential. But I don't think he can compete against the legit, who's at the top right now. So yeah.
All right. So someone asked that they feel like they have actually been skipping ahead a lot with different skill sets, and they're wondering what they should do to sort of fix that if they feel like they're inconsistent because they kind of skipped ahead a lot.
Yeah, go back to the basics. Like do reading, basic no mod, and I think you should be fine.
All right. Oh, someone's saying, when are you 1v1ing Btmc again?
I mean, I'm down, but I don't have any date.
Oh, okay. Someone else is asking, do you think reading under AR8 is even necessary?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think if you can read lower, approach rate can really help again with your aim and general pattern reading. So I do think it's worth to put in time.
Someone asked, do you think easy mod is weighted fairly right now?
That's also a tough one. I think it's probably a bit underweighted, but again, it like depends on the map. So it's tough to say.
Someone asked, thoughts on improving high BPM jumps, like 270 to 300 BPM?
Again, don't overthink it and just play high BPM jumps.
All right, someone said, how to slow down when you find slow maps boring? How do you deal with being impatient?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
Okay, if I had to say, I think just finding songs that you like, and just finding ways to make it fun.
I guess find songs you like to play, and yeah.
All right, someone asked about Dust Dice. Do you think Dust Dice might return next year?
I don't know. Maybe.
Is
Definitely
he?
not playing this year, but he said he just wants to break the curse. That like forces himself to play every year. So I could see him attending to also World Cup again next year. But it's written in the stars.
Someone said, what is going on in your head when you're playing in a tournament match?
Yeah, definitely the pressure to perform. But yeah, the pressure to perform. So that's something I have to work on as well.
Are there any tips? I feel like that's something a lot of players have sort of needed to deal with, especially in tournaments. Is there anything that you can say to people who kind of are struggling at something similar?
Pardon? Can you say the question again?
Yeah. So a lot of other people also say that they feel pressure to perform during tournaments. Is there anything you can say to those players for like anyone who's struggling with the same thing?
Yeah, I think it's normal. Don't be too hard on yourself and I think if you accumulate more tournament experience, that you will, or that the problem with nerfs will better itself.
Do you feel the
Or
same?
better by itself.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree that like a lot of people, I think the more you play tournaments, it just starts to feel normal. So, do you feel the same type of pressure when you're streaming to like a large audience, or is it pretty unique to just tournaments?
Yeah, I would say it's the same pressure. Like, of course, when I want to stream, I want to play at my best. And if I have a bad day, it's not really fun to me. But you have to integrate it. You have to integrate the bad days. But yeah, I definitely do feel pressure to perform when I'm streaming. That's also one of the reasons I don't stream as much. Because when I want to stream, I want to play at my best.
Ah, I see. Someone asked about skins as well. Do you have any thoughts on, like, I guess why you specifically use different skins for different mods, and if you have thoughts on like what, like, yeah, just I guess using skins in general.
Yeah, I would just recommend to use a skin you can read good on. And for easy, I think different combo colors are very important. But apart from that, I don't think skin matters too much in general playing.
Do you read differently on like really low AR, like easy mod versus normal no mod and high AR maps? Is there like a different way that you process the patterns?
No.
Oh,
I just read it the same.
okay, so it's really just a matter of gradually, because I mean, especially your current skill level is like the product of many years. I mean, you've been playing, I think, for 8 years or something now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's, if I had to chime in, I think that's something that a lot of people, first of all, don't completely recognize that like these people have all been playing for super long. But also some people. So as a side note, I was talking to Ikuro. I asked if he wanted to do an interview, and I think the main thing he said is that he's just been playing for 12 years, and most people don't want to wait that long. And he's like, he's not really sure what he is saying. So
I think it's a very gradual increase in skill in reading, but like the fundamental way of reading, at least for me, is the same when I'm playing low AR. Maybe I do look ahead a bit more, so to say, but I wouldn't call it a different way of reading.
all right, I think that should mostly wrap up. Oh, okay, we'll take one more question about hit sounds. Someone asked thoughts on loud hit sounds versus quieter hit sounds.
I think it's preference. But what I did notice on some maps, the like map specific hit sounds, they can be weird at times, and disabling them can help on some maps. But like loud or quieter hit sounds, it's just preference.
Someone said, any tips on getting ladies? I think this is going to be the last question.
Don't focus on getting ladies. It's the best thing you can do to get ladies. Like, focus on yourself. And don't be a weirdo. And like have your own life. If that's understandable. Like if you're dependent on anybody else, I think that's very unattractive to like everybody.
Wise words. Oh, actually, okay. One question did come to mind that I was thinking of asking. Is I've noticed that there's a lot of top players. Or do you feel like there's any relationship between like not wanting to show your face online? Like, do you, at least for you specifically, is there a specific reason why? And I guess, do you have any thoughts on that in general?
And yeah, it's just that also like it's only a hobby for me, and that's like kind of exploded. But I do enjoy my privacy.
Okay.
But at some point I will face reveal. And it will probably be next year at Cover also event.
Ah, okay.
If nothing comes in between.
That sounds exciting. Well, thanks again, WhiteCat, for joining and taking your time. Do you have any last thoughts or opinions or things that you want to, messages that you want to share with the world?
So first of all, thanks for having me. What can I say? Yeah, have fun playing. Don't overthink everything. And yeah.
All right. Well said. Is there any places people can find you where you're most active? Maybe like Twitch or Twitter? Anything you want to shout out?
I guess Twitter. Trying to be more active again. Can share my thoughts.
I think your Twitter is at WhiteCatOsu, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. But yes, thanks everyone for joining and listening and tuning in. And again, thank you, WhiteCat, for joining. And we will see you all next time.
All right. Have a nice day. Bye bye.